All right, welcome back to Mr. PL's with Precal. This is Unit 1, Topic 4, Lesson 2. We are going to be adding, subtracting rational expressions, and we're going to start off with some simple fractions. So you remember when you add and subtract fractions, you have to have common denominators. So I need the least common denominator in this case. So the smallest denominator with 5 and 3 is 15, because I'm going to multiply this fraction by 3 over 3 and this fraction by 5 over 5. I'm basically multiplying both of them by the other denominator as a whole number. So 5 times 3 is 15, 1 times 3 is 3, and you're going to add that to, let's see, 2 times 5 is 10. And when you add those, 10 plus 3 makes 13 fifteenths. So keep in mind, when you're multiplying something by 1, you're not changing its value any, you're just changing the way the fraction looks. So this time we have denominators of 12, 18, and 6. So a little bit tricky here. So one way of doing this is, well, first of all, you can always just multiply all three of the denominators, but that's going to give you a really large number, and I would probably not want to do that. So the other way of doing this is take the largest of all the numbers and just think of its multiples, and you're looking for the least of those multiples that the other two can also go into that number. So for instance, 18 is the biggest number. 18 times 2 is 36. 36 can be divisible by 12 and 6. So 36 is our common denominator. Then I asked myself, well, what would I have to multiply it by? Times 3 times 3, which makes this 15, times 2 times 2, which is 14, times 6 times 6, which is 30. Now I can do my process using PEMDAS. So 15 plus 14 makes 29. 29 minus 30 makes negative 1. Negative 1/36 is your answer. So on the next one, we have 3, 8, and 4. So 8 is the biggest number, so all these numbers can't go into 8, so I asked myself what comes next, which would be 16. 4 would go into 16, but 3 can't. So the next one will be 24. 4 and 3, they can all go into 24. So that's what I'm going to use as my common denominator. 3 goes into 24 8 times. 8 times 2 is 16. 4 goes into 24 6 times. 6 times 7 is 42. And 8 goes into 24 3 times. 3 times 5 is 15. Now it's just a matter of solving. So we know the denominator is going to be 24 because that's the common denominator. 42 plus 16 makes 58, and 58 minus 15 makes 43, if my math is right there. Which you can then change to a mixed number because 24 does go into 43. What is that? 1 full time with minus 24. If I take that away, 432 makes 19 left over. All right, so basically the idea with rationals is going to be the exact same. So all you got to do is find the least common denominator by finding the smallest thing that they all go into. Now, for this first question, they both have the same denominator, x plus 3 and x plus 3. So x plus 3 is the LCD, it's the least common denominator because the denominators are the same. So then all I have to do is take the numerator. So I know that x plus 3 is going to stay the same just like it did on the warm-up questions. And I get 5 minus 2x. And that can't be simplified. That is actually your answer. So on the next one, we have two different denominators. So I'm looking for the smallest thing they can both go into, which is x squared. X goes into x squared x amount of times. So I'm going to multiply both top and bottom by x, which gives me 3x over x squared. And I'm going to add it to the other one. I don't need to do anything because it already is x squared. So times 1 times 1. And now I'm ready to add. So 3x plus 4 over x squared is your answer. Now for the next one, x plus 5 squared is their LCD. X plus 5 would have to be multiplied by x plus 5 again. You have to do the same on top. So 2 times x plus 5 is 2x plus 10. All right, so I'm going to give myself a lot of room here. So over x plus 5 squared. Then over here, didn't have to do anything to this, so then it's just minus 7. Okay, so I didn't really need all that room. So 2x, so the 10 and the 7 can be simplified, so I'm left with 2x plus 3 over x plus 5 squared. And there's no more simplifying because I would need an x plus 5 factor on top in order to do any crossing out. Okay, so next set of questions. LCD, now we've got something a little trickier. So now we've got two different denominators that are different. So the least common denominator, remember I told you on the warm-up, you can always just take the denominators and multiply them by each other. So that's what we're going to do here. So we're going to do x plus 5 times x plus 2. Which means I'm going to multiply this side by x plus 2 on both top and bottom. And on this side, I'm going to multiply it by x plus 5 on top and bottom. All right, so that's going to give me x times x plus 2, which is going to be, well, first of all, the denominator is going to be x plus 2 times x plus 5. Now, I'm going to leave it x times x plus 2 for a good reason instead of distributing that x. And as you can see, it's because I can see that it's already going to cancel. And then subtract 4 times x plus 5, which looks like it's going to cancel out as well. All right, so now I know I've hinted at reducing, but the problem here is we don't have one big factor on top. So that's the difference here. We have a subtraction. So we have two different, this is a binomial, two different parts. So you can only do the crossing off like we did in the last video when it's all one part. And basically, in this case, we'd need an x plus 2 over here as well. If this was also x plus 2, then we can cancel off all three of these. But since that's not the case, then we're just going to multiply them by. So we have x squared plus 2x minus 4 times x is 4x. Also, negative 4 times 5 is also negative 20. Over x plus 2 over x plus 5. Now, some of this can be cleaned up a little bit, so our answer is actually going to be x squared minus 2x minus 20 over x plus 2 times x plus 5. And that's actually as far as we can go with this because the top cannot be factored again. Because when you think about the factors of 20, negative 10, and 2, that's not going to give you negative 2 in any way. You need two factors of this that are 2 away from each other. 5 and 4 would be 1 away from each other, so that's not factorable either. All right, so that brings us to the next question. So we have our LCD, just multiply x times x minus 1. So I'm going to multiply this side by x over x and this side by x minus 1 over x minus 1. Do that first, so I get 3x minus 1 times x is x and 1 times negative. So I'm also taking away 1 times negative 1 is negative 1. So minus negative 1 is positive 1. Or the other way of doing that is taking this minus sign and moving it up here, and that would be the exact same thing. So negative 1 times x is negative x, negative 1 times negative 1 is positive 1. If that made more sense to you, then that's the way you'd want to do it. And then at the bottom, we have x times x minus 1. And it looks like we can clean this up a little bit. So we have 3x minus x is 2x plus 1 over x times x minus 1. And it doesn't look like there's anything we can reduce here because there's no way we can factor this anymore. Last question down here. So we have, this is factorable, it looks like. So this becomes x plus 2 times x minus 1. X plus 2 is in both of them. So it looks like I'm going to do x minus 1 over here because x plus 2 times x minus 1 is the LCD. This already has both of them, so I don't need to multiply anything over here. This one does not, so I'm going to get, well, first of all, x plus 2 over x minus 1 as our denominator. And then we have just x, because I didn't do anything to this one, because we didn't multiply by anything, minus, so I'm going to do the same thing here. I'm going to move that over here. Negative 1 times x is negative x, and negative 1 times negative 1 is positive 1. All right, so now the x's cancel each other out, so you're left with the answer of x plus 2 over x minus 1, so it's just 1 over that number, and that's as simplified as you can possibly get. All right, and we do have a few more questions here. So these questions are very similar to the one we've just done. I am going to do this last question up here because you're probably looking at it thinking, hey, there's two variables. That makes everything different. Well, no, it doesn't. Well, keep in mind the denominators are already the same, so 6m cubed times n. You're going to do the exact same process. You're going to take whatever's over here and you're going to subtract whatever's here. So m minus m makes no m, so the m's basically just cancel each other out. Negative 3n minus 3n more makes negative 6n. All right, now from here, we got some more reducing we can do. We can reduce vertically because remember, we have a monomial over a monomial. So not like before we had a binomial. So negative 6 divided by 6 is negative 1, and n divided by n is itself, and we're left with negative 1 over m to the third power. And it looks like that's it for that question. So for this next one here, we have an LCD of x minus 1 times 4. So I'm going to have to multiply this side by x minus 1, and I'm going to have to multiply this side by 4 over 4. So I'm going to do that first. So it gives me a 4 times x minus 1 as the denominator. 4 times 6 is 24. And then I'm going to move this once again up here. So negative 5x times x is negative 5x squared. Negative 5x times negative 1 is positive 5x. And then I can, well, really I can't do anything, but what I am going to do is I'm going to put this in standard form. So negative 5x squared plus 5x plus 24 over 4 times x minus 1. And then I'm going to hope that this is not factorable, because I'm going to be honest with you, this is not going to be pretty easy. Negative 5 times 24, so 5 times 24 is going to be, what, 96? And I'm hoping there's no factor of negative 96, and I don't know them off the top of my head, that will give you 5. I don't know, maybe this is factoral, maybe I'm just missing it, but I'm going to move on from there. It would take me more time to figure out all the factors of 96, so like 3 times 32 is one of them. Okay, here I'm getting into it, even though I probably shouldn't. 4 times 24, I know that off the top of my head. 6 definitely goes in, which would be 6 times 16. That's 10 apart, so I know I'm getting close. I think 8 goes in too. 8 goes in 12 times. So yeah, that's 4 away. So I know there's no way it's going to be 5 away. So yeah, I think I've just confirmed that this is not factorable. All right, I'm going to move on to the next one. Yeah, the struggle's real here. So this time we have two denominators that are completely different. So this time I'm going to have to multiply this side by 5x plus 4 times 5x plus 4. And this side by 2x plus 3 over 2x plus 3. So that gives us a denominator of 5x plus 4 times 2x plus 3. Okay, now left side first. So 2x times 2x is 4x squared. 2x times 3 is 6x. Now add that to the other side. 6x times 5x is 30x squareds, and 6x times 4 is 24x. Now I can simplify this up a little bit, and then we'll see what we can do from there. The x squareds can go together, so that would be 34x squareds, and 6x plus 24 more makes 30 x's, and put that over 5x plus 4 times 2x plus 3. Now I do see, I'm going to have to move myself, that I can simplify again up here. These both terms can be divided by 2. So that becomes 2x, sorry. Let me factor out 2x. There we go, erase, erase, erase. All right, so factor out, because they both have at least 1x, so 2x. This is going to become 17x, and this side's going to become 15. And I don't see myself being able to factor any more than that. So I think that's actually going to be it. And that's going to be the answer. That's 2x plus 3. I'm just trying to copy it with my little limited amount of room. All right, so I'm going to move on to the next one. Let's see. We have... This is going to have to be multiplied by x plus 1. And this side's going to have to be multiplied by x plus 2. All right, so 4 times x plus 2 is 4x. 4 times 2 is 8. Minus, so I'm going to move this minus up here. So negative 2x, and negative 2 times 1 is negative 2. And on bottom we have x plus 1 times x plus 2. Simplify the top, gives us 2x plus 6, which then can be factored to 2 times x plus 3. All right, so I don't think that's going to help us though, because we have x plus 1 and x plus 2 on bottom, and that's not going to simplify anything. because we still don't have anything that we can cross out. Just that's going to be your answer. All right, thanks again for watching. I know that was quite a long one. I do have a day 3 here, which is the second day of adding and subtracting rationals here in just a moment. Thanks again for watching. Have a great day.